Let's make a knife. I made all different types of knives before, and I'm going to show you one of the best knives that I've used for years in the bush. It's a solid piece of stone with a little cutout. This knife is very effective. It's great for cutting notches in fireboards, processing out cordage, butchering out game. You can score cut around trees. It's probably one of the more ideal blades next to a steel blade that I like to employ. There's no pine pitch involved. It's a very easy knife to make. You just got to be able to take a piece of stone, thin it down, pressure flake a notch out of it, wrap a little bit with some leather, and you're good to go. Let's get to it. This is a bison leg pad. Good thick piece of bison with the fur on it. Gives me plenty of cushion and really allows me to crack into some stone. This is some Georgetown flint. Still has some cortex on the outside. Some good little flakes have been removed. I removed some of those, but this is almost in a kind of bifacial form already. So it's taking one larger piece of stone, reducing it down, getting into that initial phase of that biface, two-sided, two faces, one face, two face, and then finishing out the knife. What I want to do first is really just go around and try and just get it a little bit thinner, pop off this cortex, and just kind of get it into a rough shape. I'm looking for a blade that's about maybe 4, maybe 5 inches. I'm not going to do a lot of hard hammer because it's relatively thin, but I'll do a little. Anytime you're popping flakes, flakes like to follow ridges, so you identify those as opportunities to remove mass to thin this guy out. Edges that are sharp will crush underneath the pressure. So we'll braid them, flip them, give them a pop. I have a tendency of using my abrasion stone also as just a tool to percuss. It is still hard percussion, but I'm hitting it a little bit softer. Just kind of removing some of the cortex and raising some of these edges up. There we go. Good flake. Anytime you want to remove mass from this top side, you always braid down. You braid down, flip it, and then strike that platform. Always like to touch the antler to the spot I want to hit. It creates an eye, hand, stone relationship. Give it a pop. Good flake. Good flake. There we go. Good flake. Those are the ones, nice little thinning flakes. This flake here has that storybook kind of look. Bulb of percussion right here. You can see it's a little bit thicker. This is my distal end. This right here is my proximal end. Tapers out into that distal end. A little Illyrian scar, but nice and thin. Good, so most of the cortex is almost off this top side. I'll reduce this. So when you have one of these flat sides just like this, you're going to alternate through your strikes. Find one that's sitting below that center line. Get some good abrasion. And when you'll pop it, you'll take off a chunk. This guy was sitting out to here before, a lot thicker. I've just reduced it. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use this spot right here. That's going to be my new platform. So there's that spot where I hit right there on that corner. You can see the flake just drop. That's the flake I removed. I'm making this flat piece, this little flat side right here. I'm reducing it by attacking the corners on the natural flat edges. So this was the one right there that I just hit. It's removed. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to get this other side over here. Good. Nope, didn't go as far as I wanted. This is just a little too high. Early termination because of that guy. It's alright, we'll get it another way. One big pop. One nicely abraded edge. That's where that guy was sitting. Just like that. And right where I struck, I lost a little piece there and I lost a little piece there. That was my platform. That's what dropped out. And the flake prior to whoosh, terminated because it was too high right here. One good flake removes all that mass. You can see how much that thins it out. So you see that big hunk? So you got a big old hunk sitting right there. One good platform, one good strike. And now it just got a lot thinner. There it is. There's that next one. One good pop, one good flake. That's that guy. Almost went all the way. More than half. We'll definitely take it. Good flake. Do your first pass with the pressure flaking because you've got it at a nice thin phase right now. Thin phase will level out my sides, remove any of those high spots, and then ultimately getting it to its final shape. This is the time to really just kind of reduce some of those thin spots, but more importantly, kind of identify where your handle's going to go, where you're going to do your cutout, and where the tip will be. Start to see it take some general shape. This will be rounded, we'll get a little bit more of a drop. So we've gotten them down to its final kind of size. And the cool thing about this particular stone is now that it's in its thin form, we're going to go ahead and do that cutout. This is where that tip is. I'm going to just do a small cutout right here. So there's that first chunk taken out. Still using a thicker flaker just to give myself some mass. So this is the cutout. This will be the tail end. This will be the front. This right here will be all that blade. I'm looking to kind of shake all this out. Not too worried about what the inside looks like. It's going to get covered up by a handle. Basically, I want to be able to slip a finger on the inside, giving myself a little bit of grip, because I'm using more of this whole point, this whole tip of the blade as my cutting tool. A little bit thinner guy. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Got a good profile on the blade. I can get one finger in there. Now keep in mind, I'm going to wrap this with some leather, and it's going to be really sitting on this back spine area. There's that shape. Now let's wrap it up with some leather. For this, to wrap it with this leather, I'm just looking to kind of create a little spot for my hand when I've got this guy wrapped up. Whether I'm working it nice and close like this, or I got to wrench down up on top and use it for a cut board. It's just giving me a little protection. You can also grind the whole back as well, just so it's, you know, comfortable in the hand. It's not going to cut you. Call this a trap wrap. Kind of take it, put it at that little bit of an angle, just like that. Wrap it around, and that first wrap traps it down in there. And I just keep wrapping it. Wrap this with sinew, dog bane, anything will get the job done. Once I'm about as far as I want to go, one little knot. Pull that through. Nice and tight. Cut it off. Feels good in the hand. Let's seal it up with some wax. And then we'll put one final edge on it. We'll be good to go. What we're going to do is take this wax. We're just going to smear it all over the handle. Gets on the stone, it's not going to kill the stone. This gives you a little bit of grip, and it gives you a little bit of a stickiness when you're working it. Imagine if your hands are covered in blood, or they're cold and they're wet, and you need a little extra grip. The idea is that yes, it looks kind of wonky and kind of not smooth, but you're going to reheat that wax. And it's going to sink into that leather, and it's going to add a little bit more seal. So you just kind of hold it over, just kind of remelt it, if you will, and just wax it. Once it's melted, then you kind of run your finger over it. All that wax settles right into those fibers. It stays nice and tight. Once it's tacky and It's not overly sticky. You're almost done. Just got to do one final piece. Shape is there, cutout's there, handle is wrapped. Now we just want to put one little working edge on it. There we go. There's that edge. It's right there. This is what I call a cutout knife. It's about, maybe it's about 4 inches in total length. This, my friends, is one of the key tools that if you're out for a walkabout or any sort of adventure, get your hands on one of these, craft your own. This is about 4 inches in length. This can be the difference between just going camping and actually going out and thriving out in the bush. Alright, appreciate you guys watching. This is how I make a cutout blade.